The Isle in the Silver Sea. Chapter 6 Vina. The committee will note that Archivist Summers states that the archives maintain scrupulous records of minor incarnates. Should any local councillor or parliamentarian wish to consult the preserved records of their borough incarnates, responsible for local farmland, wildlife, and vistas etc., they are directed to contact the reference team of the archives directly for assistance. Source: Ministerial Committee Notes, Committee of Local Affairs Archivists ruling. Preserve. Publication permitted. No further action required. She followed the pull and gravity of the tale miles and miles out of London. When the rain came she was in a verdant field, and ran for the cover of the boughs of an old oak. Water lightly dashed her shoulders. She'd seen inns and small villages along the way, an occasional farmhouse with lamplight gleaming in the windows, but she didn't stop at any of them. The journey was pastoral, almost uncomfortably so. She saw no people, only occasional small shadows, shifting through fields of wheat and pale long grasses. Brownies, perhaps industrious around their home farmsteads, doing small chores in return for bowls of milk and a warm fire. Or possibly just mice, just in case. She dropped some torn fragments of fresh bread as an offering. Mice and brownies alike deserved to eat, and their goodwill couldn't hurt her. It was only when she skirted a quaint brick town with smoke rising from, disturbingly cheery, factory chimneys, and reached the edge of a wood rising up a hill, that the tug of the tail finally loosened its grip. Vina took a deep breath. This was the place. These were witchy woods, blackthorns blossoming, and dark green trees thickly rising up the hillside. Vina walked slowly along the perimeter, and internally noted that some of the trees were witch-marked, scarred with circles of spellwork. Vina was no witch, with no magic in her but the weight of her incarnate tail, but she knew a witch's work when she saw it. Vina drew her hood back, and stepped into the woods. She started walking upward. The air pressed heavily on her, oddly cold. There was something more than witchcraft wrong with the woods. Of course knights rarely went to woods that were not wrong. Vina had been into the ancient primordial forest, far older than these small woods, that crossed the length and breadth of the isle more times than she could count. That forest was nothing but danger, layers of festering magic that needed a knight's blade to quiet them. Quests had led her and her fellow knights of the Queen's Order to enchanted towers and fairy rings, moss-drenched hags feeding on children, green-skinned wild men slinking through distant looming trees, and snake-tailed women in deep lakes, venomous and hungry. But this was something else, a new danger sharp as nettles prickling her skin, a gut instinct to get out. It was almost a relief when Vina saw strange eyes glaring at her from among the black trees, lambent gold. She began to reach for her sword, then forced her hand to pause. "Come now," she said gently, "I won't hurt you. This blade isn't for you. We're friends, aren't we?" The trees rustled, whistling with an ominous wind, but Vina kept her hands lax at her sides. Not all strange things in the woods, she reminded herself, were dangerous, and even dangerous things did not deserve to die simply for obeying their own natures. The trees quieted, slowly, and then the gold-eyed creature emerged. The creature was a deer, but not quite. It was ghostly, its tawny limbs glowing, mist rising from its semi-translucent skin. It limped toward her, its ears twitching wildly, tail lashing. "You're in pain?" Vina murmured. She didn't approach it, but she looked over it carefully. There were no visible wounds on it, and its limping hind leg was golden and unmarred. "What's hurting you, little one?" Its tail lashed again. It nudged its nose against one blackthorn. Carefully, Vina reached a hand out and pressed her bare palm to the wood. The trunk was disturbingly soft under her palm. When she pressed harder, it turned to black mist, distorting, running into spidery rivulets. She felt sharp pain, like pressing her hand into boiling water. She swore and snapped her hand back. The skin was unmarked. The tree solidified. Her heart was thudding painfully. An illusion? A beast hidden in the guise of a tree, or a possessive dryad? No. This forest was real, or had been once. "Something is killing your home, isn't it?" Vina said to the deer. "Will you show me the cause?" "I promise, I'll help if I can." The deer's gold eyes were knowing. It shook its head and turned, light-footed between the trees. Vina followed. The trees grew thicker, gray and snarled, and menacing. A leaden weight of fear sat in Vina's stomach. The tug was back, but this time it was like a scrabbling hand, dragging her frantically forward. She could not see the witch yet, her witch, but she felt her. A strange itch filled her fingers, urging her to reach for the bow she carried, the arrows at her belt. She did not want to hunt the deer, but the urge to hunt was rising up in her, regardless. Her hands ached like they were being tugged by strings. "The tail wants something from me," she realized. The last time she'd felt anything like this had been under the shadow of the church, when she'd met the witch's blazing eyes. She ground her teeth, jaw tightening, and clenched her hands firmly at her sides. No, not yet. The tail's grasp slipped once more, and the urge for the hunt left her. As Vina rose up the wooded hill, she finally saw her. Trailing an axe behind her in the dirt, stumbling, was her witch. She was no longer in her hooded cloak and coat-hardy. There was no bonnet on her tangled hair, but her dress was a column under a short jacket, a dress from promenading and countryside ambles. Her dress was slashed with dirt. The axe in her grip was splotched with lichen, bronze with rust, but oddly shining and sharp at its edge. She turned and faced Vina, and her eyes, familiar, dark, flashed with fury. "You," the witch spat out. "I do not have time for you." She raised her left hand in one sharp motion and opened her fingers wide. Before Vina had a chance to speak, to placate, to do anything, she felt her feet go out from under her. It was lucky she wasn't in her armor, which would have overbalanced her. Instead, she was able to twist as she fell and catch herself on her hands and knees before leaping back to her feet. The soil beneath her was thrumming with magic, but as she straightened she realized the trees around her were spell-marked just like the tree line. They glowed even more brightly when Vina looked at the witch once more. The witch was scowling, her tangled hair a dark flag of warning in the wind eddying through the woods. "If you come closer I swear I'll curse you," the witch said, voice low and fierce. "Do you like welts and boils? I can make sure you have some very intimate problems if you dare reach for that damn sword." "I vow not to touch my sword," Vina said quickly. She held her arms wide in front of her. "Peace, Lady Witch." The soil trembled ominously. "Peace," the witch spat. "There's no peace between us, Knight. Go away. I'll face you when I must, but right now you'll leave me be." "I'm not here to cause you harm," Vina said. She kept her voice soft. It was no different from handling the ghostly deer. Here was a woman that was perhaps predator or prey, who was dangerous to her. Here was a creature she did not want to raise a blade to. A pity one day she'd have no other option. The witch barked a laugh. "I'm sure. Perhaps I can assist you." "And why would you assist me? You're hunting me like a hare, don't pretend." A shiver ran through her, remembering the tug on her hands, the urging of the tail. "I'm not," Vina said. "I can promise you that." "Not yet." The witch's hand clenched and loosened on the axe handle, full of anger and distrust. The trees began to smolder malevolently. Vina bowed neatly, a hand to the heart. "My name is Lavinia Morgan," she said. "I am a knight in the Queen's service, not of any traditional order. I am one of those the Queen keeps near for use in a tale, while my brethren hunt loathly ladies, and women with the bodies of asps. I am an incarnate. Even though I'm afraid, a disappointment of a knight. The Queen retains me because one day I am meant to be enthralled by you, and then I am meant to destroy you." She thought about apologizing for it, then decided better of it. What could she say? "Sorry I'll kill you one day?" That would be absurd. Being sorry made no difference. "For my duty," Vina said, "I am here to take you to our Queen. Before the witch hunters find you, ideally, but I would also be glad to help you first if you allow it." The witch's mouth thinned. "How?" the witch said flatly. "I have a sword," Vina offered. "If you agree not to attack me for using it, then it's yours. You told me you're a disappointment of a knight. Why would I need your sword? Knighthood is more than swordsmanship. Fighting, I can do ably enough. Direct me on what to hack and cut, Lady Witch, and I shall. As long as it isn't me, you may cut what you like," said the witch. "Direct me, ma'am," said Vina, "and I'll do as you bid." Slowly, Vina grasped the hilt. The witch weighed her options, visibly conflicted. "I can't break through this wall of trees," the witch said finally. "I've given the trees my blood, and written spells into the soil. I've made a trap of my own hair. I have nothing left to give." "You have your axe," Vina suggested. Then she paused for a breath, noting the tick of the witch's jaw. "The axe is too heavy for you," she said. "It wasn't made for my hands," the witch said tightly. "If I may?" Vina held out a hand. "Take it then," said the witch abruptly, angling the handle to her. "I need to reach the top of the hill." She hesitated. "I don't know what's waiting for us there." That was warning enough. Vina took the axe by the handle. Her fingers brushed the witch's for a butterfly's breath. Then the witch drew back. Vina hefted up the axe. It was heavy. "This may take some time," Vina warned, then began to chop. She hacked at the tree again, and again. 10 dull thuds, and then the tree-like thing shuddered, and began to twist in front of her, wildly, the branches shaping into claws. "Shit!" Vina reared back, angling her weapon to meet them, and the witch snapped. "I can deal with the claws. Keep hitting the weak point you've made." "Will that be enough?" Vina asked, lurching to avoid a branch slash aimed directly at her throat. Every monster has its weakness to be exploited, the witch said confidently. That sounded reasonable enough. So Vina obeyed, hitting the same deep groove over and over. Sweat ran down her body, but she hacked and hacked, the reverberation thudding through her. The witch was muttering something, sharp, staccato words. Marks on the trees and in the soil began to blaze hotter still, smoldering and spitting as the witch poured magic into the webs and traps she'd already made. The trees contorted, ink oozing from them like blood. If Vina hadn't known better, she would have believed they were in pain. The tree finally gave way, and a scream ran through the branches around them. Silence. A tree's breadth of a path had opened in front of them, darkness ahead of them. Vina breathed deeply, shoulders heaving, and wiped the sweat from her brow. What next, Lady Witch? Vina asked. She heard the whisper of the witch's footsteps. The witch moved to stand by Vina's side. From the corner of her vision, she watched the witch cross her arms, expression wary. My name is Simran, said the witch. I am only telling you so you don't call me Isadora, our Lady Witch again. Simran, Vina said obediently, follow me. The witch, Simran, walked through the trees, and Vina, who'd promised to do what the witch told her to, followed. Ahead of them, clad in briars, stood the ruins of some ancient temple to gods Vina could not name. Figures held up the broken remains of the roof. The figures were so eroded that their faces were not visible, their bodies devoid of fingers, mouths, hair, an old tail, tucked away among blackthorns, nearly forgotten. But it was not the temple that made Vina's heart thud in warning, and her muscles coil. It was the smell. Some strange, discordant mix of herbs and metallic blood met her nose and her lungs. The witch made a noise, a hiss between her teeth. She raised a hand barring Vina's path, forcing them both to stop. Vina looked around Simran, and saw it. A body lying on the ground. It was freshly dead, still intact, its chest unmoving, its skin pale and cold. It looked like a woman, older than both Vina and Simran. A mark was carved into her forehead. A perfect circle, bloodless. The witch lurched forward one step. Her hands were clenched. She made a noise, a little shudder of breath, and kneeled down. This was someone the witch knew. Vina's heart gave a sympathetic pang. Vina almost spoke, but as she opened her mouth, she felt a coldness brush at the back of her neck. The wind, perhaps, or a warning. She carefully lowered the axe to steady soil. The sword at her belt was better fit for her hands, familiar and sharp. She turned her head slowly. There was a figure behind her, tall, and broad, and silver-haired. No traps for me, witch? He said. The witch startled, turning where she kneeled. I thought you'd be better prepared. You're the one who set a trap, Simran said. Her voice was thick with unspent tears and fury. You baited it with my friend's corpse. She should have rotted by now, said the man, circling. Somehow, his feet made no sound. Vina watched his footsteps. He threw no shadow, and the grass under him did not move out of shape. The woods are protecting her, said Simran. She watched him hawkishly, intent. They're her woods after all. And they love her. Are you here to try and kill me again? I did not try to kill you, he said. I offered you a gift. There's no gift sweeter than a blade through my chest. I'm sure, the witch said tartly. Peace, witch, that is what I gave her. Doesn't she look peaceful? Death is kinder than the fate that was awaiting her. The forest is dying. She wouldn't have wanted that. He shook his head. She told me, Simran insisted, voice shaking. You fall so easily for lies, the stranger said. His gaze cut, abruptly, to Vina. You haven't tried to kill me yet, Knight? Strange. The last time we met you gutted me from navel to neck. He looked like a tall man, broad, fair-haired. Vina looked more closely. His murky eyes went from gray to blue to deep red as she watched him. As she breathed carefully, and told herself, look, all magic is illusion. Look under the veil and see him. Look, I would gut you, stranger, said Vina. I hate to disappoint, but there is no point trying to gut someone who isn't here. The witch's eyes sharpened. He quirked an eyebrow. What exposed me? If you don't know, sir, I don't feel inclined to tell you, Vina said. Tone amiable. Simran had no questions. She was digging now through the soil by the corpse, long fingers scrabbling in the mud, nails stained with dirt. Keen hunter's eyes you have, he said, mildly said, but mocking, and yet so easily bespelled. Do you know me, sir? Vina asked. I'm afraid I don't know you. No, he agreed. You don't. I see that. The witch drew a hank of hair from the ground, expression triumphant, silvery fair, tied with twine. I see I'm not the only one with a gift for witchcraft, Simran said. I had a fair teacher, the stranger replied. He swept toward Simran, all his focus on her. He bowed over her, throwing no shadow, his voice low. You have something of mine now. Before you send me away, let me give you something of yours. He held out his hand. On his palm lay a single coil of black hair. Simran stared at it, uncomprehending. Do you recognize it? No? Then perhaps these. The lock of hair vanished. In its place, Vina peered closely. Cigarettes? Perplexing. But the witch understood. She straightened, eyes flashing and wrathful. What have you done to him? She demanded. Around them, the witch marks she'd set began to glow again, burning with her fury. Where is Hari? I've pondered you, witch, the man said, staring at Simran so intently it was as if Vina did not exist at all. I often ponder you. You don't see the gift death is. Maybe you don't recognize your own chains. I could lay 1,000 truths at your feet, and you would reject them all because they come from me, and because you are craven. His voice turned ugly. You are worse than a dog, compared to what you were. But still, I'll give you a chance. If you want him back, you will have to find the truth yourself. The mountains of copper, witch. Come to your ancient tour. Meet me there before the winter solstice. Tell me my name, and tell me why I cannot die. And you may have him back whole and alive. The witch shook her head, lowering her face, squeezing her eyes shut. Her mouth moved, soundless, shaping words. You have until the winter solstice, which, he continued, then your friend will die. Simran twisted the lock of silver hair between her fingers, mouth still moving. The man shuddered. Lines of gold appeared on his face, livid as scars. His eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. No more of this, said the stranger. I know you're seeking me out. I can feel you trying to trap me. You gave me the tools, Simran said. Give him back to me. Now. No. Find me, or he dies. You have your quest. Farewell. He snapped his fingers, and Simran yelped as the silver hair burned to dust. Before the two of them, the stranger vanished in white smoke. The witch was breathing hard, blinking back angry tears. I need to go, she said. I need to go to Gore, the town, the houses beyond the woods. I need to go now. It sounded like it was already too late for urgency. Who did he take? Vina asked. Low and gentle. A sibling? A lover? The witch swore, shaking. She walked back to the gap in the trees, then stopped as rainfall brushed her head. She raised a hand to her forehead. The fingers came back black. Vina raised her head quickly. Above them, the branches were beginning to crack and groan. Ink was pouring from them like blood. A burst of it touched her own face. It bloomed, painfully hot on her skin, then slithered lifelessly to the ground. We need to leave, Vina said urgently. Go, Simran. I'll follow. The way is gone, Simran said, and Vina saw that their path had vanished, swallowed by the trees that were closing in, drawing together. Use the axe, Simran ordered then. Vina was already hefting it up. She threw the weight of her whole body behind the axe, but the trees were growing larger around them, filled with the screaming wails of dying birds. Your magic, Vina bit out. I can't feel it, Simran said. Her face was gray, her hands raised as if she was trying to seek her magic in the air, in her fingertips. Her voice wavered. I can't feel my magic at all.